Everybody, welcome to Uncommon Analysis. Well, this past weekend was pretty brutal for the Democrats on the political talk shows. Joe Manchin was interviewed by CNN, and let's see what he had to say. Oh, let me give a backstory. Joe Manchin was a lifelong Democrat, very popular governor in West Virginia. I believe he's completing his second term as senator for West Virginia. This man was a powerhouse in West Virginia politics, and he was going to lose, so he didn't even run this time. He retired. And I believe, honestly, Manchin was trying to position himself, and had been for a long time, to be the voice of sanity in the Democratic Party, and hoping that the extremism within that party was going to push for a desire for a more centrist candidate. And he had Gales for the White House. I do believe that was part of his plan. Unfortunately, the Democratic Party has just gone absolutely absurdly extreme to the nth degree, and he left the party, I believe, earlier this year or last year. And this is an interview he gave this past weekend, talking about why he left the party. So let's hear what he had to say.
Democrat. What caused Joe Manchin to divorce himself from the
Here's
Democratic
what I
Party?
told them. I said, you ought to figure out how you lost somebody like me. I was born as a Democrat because of my grandfather's love of FDR. I was a very strong Democrat because of my family's love of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. I came through the whole iteration, and then I was a Democrat in West Virginia, and it has always been a 75-80% plurality of Democrats, registered Democrats. But there was a split. I was never in the liberal side of it. I was never in the establishment side. So I always had to fight my way through.
What is is it a shift on social issues?
Yeah, the brand got so bad. The D brand has been so maligned from the standpoint of it's toxic. And the D brand is basically this, I've told him, I said, first of all, as an American and as someone in Senate, and I'm going to take the Constitution, oath of the Constitution that I take very, 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 very seriously. I'm going to help every human being pursue the happiness life in their life, pursuit of happiness. I don't care who they are. I don't care what color. I don't care any of the things, who they love and what. Do it, and that's you. And I'm going to make sure you have that opportunity and right to live your life. Just don't make your life, if it might be on the extremes or in the minority, a few, make me believe that's the norm. Or make me and my family believe, or my children believe, or this or that. No, I will protect you. Just don't try to mainstream it. And the Democratic Party, the Washington Democrats, have tried to mainstream the extreme.
How would you describe what the Democratic brand is right now? In a couple of words, what is the Democratic brand?
It's basically infringement on me making decisions. And let me tell you why. The Democrat I grew up being, they wanted to make sure that people had an opportunity for a good job, a good pay. They would make sure you got a decent pay where you have some benefits and you can enjoy your family, and make sure you had a safe working condition. That was one of those things. Okay, that's all. They never infringed over and you can't live your life that way, or you can't say this, you can't do this. I mean, there was a fairness in it.
You think it's changed?
It has changed tremendously. They have basically expanded upon thinking, well, we wanted to protect you there, but we're going to tell you how you should live your life from that far on. It's the mindset of the left, the progressive left, which was always a minority. In West Virginia, the Democratic Party is perceived to pour more attention and more resources to people that are capable and able-bodied that won't work or don't work than those that do.
Okay, this is from the incoming chair of the House Progressive Caucus. He says, if the Democratic Party was a little more like Chairwoman Jayapal and a little less than Joe Manchin, I think we would have won this election.
They'd have lost. They got to be nuts. For someone to say that, they've got to be completely insane.
Right.
The people in America voted. They had that opportunity, to vote with Kamala Harris and with Donald Trump. Donald Trump, hasn't been said. You know exactly what you're getting. He hasn't made any bones about it. But you might say that's too far right, okay? If that's the case, then why did they go too far right when Kamala was trying to come back to the middle a little bit, okay? And they're saying if Kamala would have been who she always has been, pretty far to the left, it'd have been better for her. That's crazy.
Do you
So that's a little long, but as you can see, Manchin pulled no punches there. The Democratic Party is the party of extremism. They are trying to take extremism and mainstream it. They want the extreme to be mainstream. That's a great line, and he's very truthful. The Democrats have a huge problem. A huge problem. They are not, as he has said, I agree with him, they are not a viable national brand. They are toxic as hell. They are basically confined to large cities, primarily on the coasts. They have no sale in Middle America. And that is because they have gone to the extreme. They have gone to the absolutely absurd extreme. And I think they are going to be utterly unviable for a long period of time. They've been in decline for a while. They got a reprieve with Obama due to the bad economy and an unpopular war and a whole lot of other things that happened. Gave Obama 8 years. But that, and they believe that was a revitalization of their party. And in reality, it was among the last gasps of their national brand under the model that they have. The embracement of identity politics, it was a short-term gain for a long-term death roll. They are in a death spiral. West Virginia, for example, this is a perfect example of where the Democrats are nationally. West Virginia, believe it or not, was one of the most reliable blue states in the country. In the 19th century, I believe they only voted Republican twice. And both those times, for president, I mean, and both those times were on landslide victories by the Republican. That was the landslide reelection of Richard Nixon and the landslide reelection of Ronald Reagan. Otherwise, they were as blue as you could get. As you heard him say, 75-80% voter advantage in West Virginia. And now, that ended in 2000. The Democrats threw it away in 2000 under the Clinton years. The Democratic Party went after coal. They went extreme environmentalist, and it cost them West Virginia. And West Virginia now is probably the most reliably red state you're going to find. It is as red as you are going to find. There are super majorities in both houses of the government. I don't think there's a single Democrat left in statewide office in West Virginia. And this has happened in about 20 years, 25 years. And actually, it was less than that because Joe Manchin's kind of the last hanger-on of that old Democrat guard, just because he had the popularity and he was so dominant for so long in that state. But that state is now as red as any southern state you're ever going to find. Like I said, super majorities in both houses of the legislature, governorship, pretty much, I believe, every state office, and it is red as you can get. If the Democrats had not been so flippant in 2000, Al Gore would have been president. Florida wouldn't have mattered. Let that sink in, folks. If West Virginia had voted blue, as it had done consistently for a century or darn close to it, Florida would not have mattered in the 2000 election, and Al Gore would have been president. Democrats have moved into a position over the years that have made them unviable and continue. Pennsylvania, for example, is another example. The upper Midwest is well past due for a realignment, and it's happening. They got, Trump realigned this to a certain extent. I've lived in this area since 1986. I was not born and raised here, but I've been here for a long time. And when I moved up here, I could not understand why people were Democrats, because the values they espoused were not Democratic values. They were Democrats because they just inherited it, because their parents were Democrats, their grandparents were Democrats, their great-grandparents were Democrats, because they worked in the mills, they worked in the mines, they worked in heavy industry, they worked in the blue-collar jobs. So they were loyal to the Democratic Party out of history, not because the Democrats really gave them a time of day. And since then, that alignment that I saw, the disconnect between what these people believed in and what they wanted and where this party has gone grew and grew and grew, and they're finally realigning. I know people don't want to believe that, but even without Trump, even before Trump, Pennsylvania's been moving a slightly more red every cycle. Not, it's moved way more in the years he's been on the ballot, and it's moved significantly more in the last 4 years, while for a lot of reasons. But on average, it's been moving about a sixth of a percent, slowly moving more and more right, and it has been doing that for quite a while. The realignment of the upper Midwest is happening, folks. When it's going to finish, I don't know. It's not a linear process. It isn't like, oh, it's never going to vote blue again. But the movement from reliably Democrat to more and more reliably Republican is underway, and it's persistent, and it's going to continue. And the Democrats can continue to deny it, but they're in trouble. They're in trouble. This guy's very politically polite in what he's saying. He's saying it very politically, not surprising. He's a lifetime politician. But the Democratic Party is in trouble long term as a viable national party. They really, really are. They need to move away from a lot of the stuff they've embraced in the last 20 to 25 years. And he's right. They're insane. To claim that if Kamala Harris was been more liberal, they would have done better is absolutely insane. You just ran, as you point out, she had to pretend she was a moderate during this race to get where it was, and she still got her ass handed to her. If she had ran as what she is, the most liberal member of the Senate, a San Francisco liberal, she would have lost by 350 to 400 points, just like Joe Biden was on target to do. The Democratic Party has got to move away from that. They've got to move away from these progressive insanity if they wish to be a viable national party. And I don't think they do it. There are people in the party that have sanity. Josh Shapiro comes to mind. Fetterman comes to mind. These are people they're more sane, more classic Democratic people. When you think Democratic politicians, pre this crazy, they are more in that mold. They have sanity. They're not absolutely out there and wackadoo. They understand the country is not that wackadoo, and they're not going to win being wackadoo. Whether those people can consolidate enough power to win the nomination and change the party, I do not know. But I've said it before. If they wish to be successful, those are the kind of people they need to start listening to, not these progressive caucus idiots who think the whole world is like downtown Manhattan or inner city LA. And, that those policies are going to sell out in the rest of the country because they're not. So we'll see. Anyway, that's all I got for today. If you like this type of content, please like, subscribe, click on notifications, share. And with that, I am out.